This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
What's up, Detroit sports fans? Welcome back to the Fan Reporter Show, made by fans for fans, powered by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm Nick, and sitting right across from me is Andrew, going to lead us in with this week's topics.
The Lions made a big signing last week. Meanwhile, Vegas did a not-so-big over-under for our Pistons. We talk about both big and small next on the Fan Report.
Okay, well, that was short and sweet and to the point.
Short and sweet and to the point.
You know, sometimes we like to drag it out and throw a little pun in.
Witty nonetheless. Nonetheless. I said less.
Huh?
I said witty nonetheless.
Oh, sorry, I was just very confused with whatever the hell you just said. Yeah, so I was on my way home the other day, on Friday, I believe it was, and I was just kind of, hanging out, and, driving, listening to the radio, listening to 97.1, actually. It was.
Yep.
I've actually not listened to that station since this day for some reason. I normally do, but I
don't normally listen on the weekends.
That is true. I don't normally. The only show I really listen to on that radio station is the Valenti Show, and sometimes Cal Bogey and the Bogey and Wojo Show. But so I was, driving home, and I looked at my phone, and I didn't see anything on my phone. I had a Bleach Report notification, but I didn't really see anything. I didn't look at it that well because I was driving, And then I hear on the radio, right when I got in, they were talking about it, and they said that Mike Daniels is a Lion. I said, wait, am I being punked? Where's Ashton? Because I would never expect the Lions to make this move. I know the only connections I had heard between the two were straight up from people on Twitter saying, "Hey, Lions, go get Mike Daniels." That's it. Yeah. I heard no other rumblings of them even looking at Mike Daniels because I knew he was going to be expensive, and I didn't know if they were willing to put more money towards their D-line. Well, I'm glad I was wrong. I'm glad that we ended up with Mike Daniels. And he was marching his way into training camp the other day looking like a monster. I don't know if you saw the video of him.
I should have not.
Oh, him jogging in. Dude is massive. He is a big boy. Let me tell you. A big, big boy. And
well, he's an NFL defensive lineman.
But he's like, there's just, how there's some defensive linemen where you're like, okay, he's big, but he's not massive.
Yeah.
This dude was big. Like, he's huge. But it was pretty cool to see him, jumping in, and then he had a lot of things to say about the Lions and whether, obviously we gave him the money. We gave him, I think it was like $9.5 million for the year, with $8.5 or something of it guaranteed, or $7.5 guaranteed, or something along those lines. And they asked him if some reporters asked him, were there other contracts on the table? And he said, yeah, there were bigger contracts.
13 teams contacted him within the first hour of his release.
Exactly. And he said that there were even bigger numbers thrown at him on the table for him to accept with other teams. But he wanted the opportunity to one, stay inside the NFC North, and two, play for Matt Patricia. That was his biggest thing. Was he's all in on Matt Patricia. He said the dude is an absolute genius. He just knows about football, and it's like a dream of his to play for him.
And I quote Coach Patricia flat out: "He's just a genius. He really is. He understands the game of football. He knows what it takes. So to be able to play for a coach like that, it means everything." I'm really trying to be restrained right now because I'm so excited. If I could do a backflip right now, I would do one, but I can't. I'm really excited. That's Chris 1020man from DetroitLions.com.
I wonder why he can't do a backflip. And does a fellow Lion train him to do a backflip? If we see Mike Daniels do a backflip this year, even if it's like a backward somersault, how happy would you be?
I'd be really worried because you could have injured yourself.
Especially that big of a dude.
Like anytime I see someone try to flip into the end zone, I'm like,
or do the players that decide to do the touchdown dance that's a backflip, that always scares the hell out of me. Always scares the hell out of me.
He also went on to say, I thank God that I got cut and had an opportunity to play for a defensive genius. He really thinks highly of Matt.
He is an obvious fan of a man that we have looked at in a lot of fans here have looked at in a very negative light. Yeah. As called for his firing after one season, saying that this is it. If he doesn't get us into the playoffs, he should be fired. They should just fire all the Patriots guys, which actually there's been rumblings of there's some people out there who believe that if this isn't the year that the Lions win some ball games and make the playoffs, then the entire Patriots regime is gone. The Matt Patricias, the Pascalonis, the Bob Quinns, everybody that's a proponent,
Patriot on those
that's a proponent of the Patriot way is gone. And I saw that as kind of a bit of a shock, considering, well, this is your first year with a new offensive system. Mm-hmm. That your first year experimenting, doing different things with the quarterback. I don't know if you've seen any of the videos, but they're doing a lot of rollouts with him, a lot of designed rollouts with Matt Stafford. He says that he's in the best health he's ever been in, the best shape he's ever been in. Beat reporters are saying this is the best Matthew Stafford's looked in terms of his physique ever. I feel like we say that every year, though. Let's be real. But, I mean, if it's true, it lends itself to believe that they're going to try to design, run some design rollouts, maybe even some design scrambles for him to make plays with his feet. And that fits right in with the Darrell Bevell system. It's what he did with Russell Wilson in Seattle. And I'm not saying Matt Stafford's as mobile as Russell Wilson, because there's no question he's not. But if it's a tool that we know Matthew Stafford can use his head and make the smart decision to run the football at times. He's not a guy who's going to outrun anybody and be a blazer on the field. But if he's able to add a little bit of a speed threat to his game, I mean, that's something that's you got to really pay attention to. Yeah. But anyways, I just went off on a random tangent there.
A little bit of a tangent.
But I mean, first year in a new offensive system, look at the Vikings last year. They weren't as successful as people had hoped, and neither was Kirk Cousins. So you wonder if there's going to be some growing pains there, and you'd expect there to be. I expect there to be. I've said all along, I expect this team to be a 7-9 football team. I don't fire Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn for that.
Nope.
I give them another year. If next year we add some more talent again to this team and we're still not winning, okay, then maybe things need to change. You've done a full 3 years with this regime as it is. Okay, now we need to start looking elsewhere. Yeah. But this year it's about growth to me. It's about
I agree.
Growth and improvement for this football team.
But at the same time,
they have invested.
Not really growth.
I mean, if there's certain things I see on the football field, like if I see some of the designed rollouts for Matthew Stafford being productive.
Yeah, there's things you can do on the football field.
Right,
yeah,
and that's what I'm looking for. I'm not saying, technically one extra win is growth. Yeah. Technically it is. Just not enough. But if there's things I'm seeing on the football field, like the improvement of Kerryon Johnson and Kenny Galladay's continued breakout, Matthew Stafford showing an ability to do things he hasn't been comfortable doing in the past. The defense continuing to be absolute stalwarts on the run. The secondary developing. I mean, those are things that I'm going to look for, because there are a lot of question marks on that defense in terms of the linebacker core and the secondary.
But looking back on the defensive side of the ball, though, we project the Lions to go between 6-10, 7-9 this season. Does the addition of Mike Daniels move that needle for you at all?
One player hardly ever really moves the needle on a football field for me, unless you're talking a quarterback, obviously. Mike Daniels definitely makes the D-line far more formidable and far more dangerous. There's no question about that. I mean, looking at the talent they have in the D-line between Trey Flowers, Mike Daniels, Deshaun Hand, Ashawn Robinson, Snacks Harrison, Romeo Okwara. I mean, the list goes on. They've got talent on the D-line to make plays.
Talent on the D-line.
To make plays. So there is something to be said about that. But again, it's only one facet of your defense. Look at the Chiefs last year. They had the number one pass rush in the entire NFL. Their defense was still straight up garbage. You can't really say that just because you have an extremely good D-line means you're automatically going to be a great defense. I do think it helps a lot. I still need to see, because I think our run stopping will be ridiculous, because adding Snacks Harrison to that run defense last year made them from a bottom 5 to a top 5 in run D. Adding Mike Daniels to that as well is only going to make it even better. I think it's going to be very difficult to run on this Lions football team. I'm still going to put a bit of a question mark up when it comes to the pass rush, though.
Yeah.
Because I still don't think we have a guy that's capable of hitting 10, 12 sacks on this roster unless Trey Flowers exceeds what he's done in the past. because he's really the only guy I can see hitting that double-digit sack mark on this defense.
Although I do like Deshaun Hand a lot.
I do like Deshaun Hand, but I don't think he's in the rotation enough to see double-digit sacks, especially when you play a multiple defense. So I think he's a 7 or 8 sack guy. I think Trey Flowers is obviously a consistent 8 sack a year guy, which I want to see that jump up to double digits this year. I think he's really the only big threat to hit double-digit sacks, but I need to see it. And that's where I'll take that question mark away and look at the pass rush and say, all right, that's positive.
It's just crazy to think about from this time last year to this year. We've added, and basically, like, when did we grab Snacks? Was that November?
It was trade deadline. It was right before the trade deadline, so about
November.
week six of last season.
Oh, so October then.
Yeah.
But either way, in less than a year, we've added Snacks Harrison, Mike Daniels, and Trey Flowers at defensive line. Like,
yeah,
it's a
you're adding
different defensive line than we
you're
went in
adding
with last
guys,
season.
3 guys who battle to be all pros every year.
Yeah.
Granted, Mike Daniels hasn't been as good in the recent years because of whatever injuries or you name it, compared to his Pro Bowl season. But the dude is a former Pro Bowler. He is an absolute star at his position. And while Trey Flowers hasn't hit those double-digit sack marks in his career yet, he's still young and he's still a very, very productive player.
Yeah.
And Snacks is a monster. And arguably the best at his position in the entire league.
And
so, I mean, adding those 3 guys to your D-line obviously makes you look a lot tougher on that other side compared to, this time last year, our D-line was pretty terrible.
And this is the optimist in me coming out, but if the 2 rookies are projecting a lot of playing time in the defense and trying to vie the linebacker and Amani Oruwariye, the corner,
well,
if they
right now it looks like the
yeah.
secondary piece. It looks like the starting corners are going to be obviously Darius Slay, Rashawn Melvin, and Justin Coleman. Those are your 3 starting corners. As of right
Rashawn
now.
Melvin coming in.
Yes.
Oh.
And then you have Tracy Walker and Quandre Diggs in the back.
Yeah, because what I was going to say, if those 2 can up to how much they were being hyped after the draft, like those were basically, aside from our first round pick.
Well, Warrior is going to be a little bit of a project. I expect him to be maybe a 4th corner. He's going to compete for the 4th corner spot behind Tease Tabor.
But if they can come in and have good rookie seasons, you're looking at a really good defense here. I mean,
you potentially could. I mean, you have potential talent there. You have a lot of potential in the defense, but there are also question marks at the positions we're talking about.
Yeah.
The linebacker positions. There's a lot of question marks there.
It's the optimistic side of it.
Right. That is an obviously optimistic side because, again, what's that opposite? What's the opposite of Darius Slay going to look like this year?
Yeah.
What's our nickelback going to look like this year in Justin Coleman? Is he going to be as good as we hope? How's Tracy Walker going to perform?
We're paying him, he better be as good as
He better be, right. What's Tracy Walker going to look like at safety? There are a lot of question marks on this defense. Thus far, what do you mean? He hasn't really played. I mean, he's been a backup most of his career.
Yeah, but I'm saying the minutes he's got, he doesn't look bad.
He's been a developing player. He hasn't shown an ability to me at least, and to a lot of people, and obviously his own coaches, that until Glover Quinn left, he hasn't shown an ability to take away the starting job. Yeah. Glover Quinn was good, not great. So what can we expect out of Tracy Walker to this point? Yeah. Hopefully, at least good. I have solid expectations for Tracy Walker. I am actually less worried about him than I am the number 2 corner spot. I have far more confidence in Tracy Walker to hold down that free safety spot than I do our number 2 corner, whether it be Rashawn Melvin, Justin Coleman, or Amani Oruwariye, or Tease Tabor, whoever it's going to be over there. Yeah. At least I believe it was Rashawn Melvin.
I'm looking at the depth chart right now. They got Tease Tabor and Rashawn Melvin, who's the top 2 in the depth chart at the right side corner.
Which is, like I said, what I expected.
Amani placed behind Darius Slay at the left side corner.
Okay. I mean, I kind of see that. I can expect that.
They don't really play sides. They just match Slay up against the...
No, they don't. Not always. Oh. Depends on who and depends on comfortability. Slay is a good matchup in most cases. Not all. They do tend to have him follow their best receiver, but not every game. Yeah. Not every game. Unlike some corners, like Richard Sherman, for example, he lines up on a side, quite literally a side, and he plays a cover 3 zone. That's what he's good at. You try to put him in man, he's going to struggle.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like Darius Slay doesn't just stay in the left side. Like,
Not always, no, but there are some days he does. Either way, though, that secondary corner spot is still a big question mark for me.
Yeah.
So, and I would argue that is the biggest question mark on that defense for me is whether or not we're going to get burned by number 2s and number 3s. Second biggest would be that linebacker spot. Are we going to put our put our faith in Jelani Tavai at that linebacker spot? What's that situation going to be? Is he any good? I've heard good things from him out of camp.
I'd never heard of him before.
Neither have I. Exactly. So I really don't know if he's going to be any good until we actually see some real live gameplay. And I'm not even just talking about preseason. I'm talking regular season, full speed, 100%, going starters on starters. Let's go. Like that's when we'll be able to find out if this kid can hack it.
Yeah.
But in terms of the D line, that's where my question marks really stop. I expect the run D to be formidable. And I expect the pass rush to be well spread out enough that we make an impact. I'm just hoping we get a guy that emerges as a double-digit sack guy. That'll take that pass rush from like a high B, like a B plus, to an A grade for me. Is looking at a guy that can come out and you can almost guarantee a sack in almost every game.
Do you have any downsides to my Daniel signing, or is it all praise on your end?
No, none.
All right.
I understand it's a lot of money, but you had the cap space for
How much
one.
are we paying him?
Like 9.5.
9.5.
It's a lot of money, but it's a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
So it doesn't stick you long term. And I know you cut Theo Riddick to make space in there, and you still have like $3.3 million in cap space available. I know, or no, you have a little bit more than that. I know that Bob Quinn likes to go into the season with some space, just in case. But I think you have like $8 million, and he likes going with $5 million. So you have about 3.3 or something like that left. I think that's what I read. So you have some space. Wonder what you do with it. Who knows? If anything, I don't know if you do. But cutting Theo Riddick, and I said on the last podcast that watch out of this as this being a potential camp casualty is Theo Riddick. Yeah. Reason being, we talked about it last season where Theo Riddick could have been a surprise cut. And I said it's a situation where you can see it again, where Kerryon Johnson is getting more workload in that pass in the pass catching downs. He's shown an ability to be a dual threat back. You've got C.J. Anderson, and then you've got the guy behind C.J. Anderson, Zach Zenner. So are you going to carry another pass catching back? And you also got to remember you have a guy like Brandon Powell, who's a slot receiver, who's kind of a very similar player to Theo Riddick as well. So,
not to mention Ty Johnson, the rook.
Right, not to mention Ty Johnson, who also has a lot more special teams ability than Theo Riddick. So there's another reason to keep Ty Johnson on the roster than Theo Riddick. So and that's what I figured was going to be. He's a good player. There just wasn't a spot on this roster for him moving forward. So they cut him, and I believe he's ended up with Denver. Or at least going to be ending up with Denver.
Yeah, I did not hear about him actually signing anywhere because I heard about him meeting with the Saints also.
I heard that as well.
He's not signed anywhere yet.
Not signed anywhere yet? Yep. Okay. Last I heard, he was connected with Denver. That's all. I did hear about the meeting with Saints, though.
One thing that strikes me, just an overall thought on our roster in general, this is the most balanced Lions roster that I can remember in a while, since probably the Jim Schwartz Lions.
I won't disagree. I still am concerned about the O-line. Although if Bo Shovel comes in and proves that he's as good as we hope, that'll calm those nerves. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I could see the concern for replacing TJ
Lang, and there's obviously some concern there. And then you have Frank Ragnow moving to center with Graham Glasgow moving to right guard or left guard, whichever one he was more comfortable with.
Yeah.
So there are some concerns there, but I agree. This is one of the most balanced teams we've seen in quite a while. And this also...
They did a good job plugging a lot of their holes this year.
Absolutely. And this is one of the off seasons. This is one of those off seasons that I can remember where we brought in a lot of talent. Like this is one of the most talent... we had some of the most talent acquisitions in an off season that I can remember from a Lions off season in a long time. I mean, the last one I can think of is when Bob Quinn went right after the O-line and brought in both Rick Wagner and TJ Lang when he went after that. That was
fun.
I know, but it didn't really pan out, but it was fun.
Still fun.
This offseason, though, they made an effort to put assets in holes and bring in actual talent in those assets, not a guy that's a depth play to be safe. It was going after the names, the good players, the Mike Daniels, the Trey Flowers of the world.
Yeah.
Going after guys like the Justin Colemans, going after guys like that and putting talent in spots where we lacked talent. Looking across the roster, there's talent at almost every single position. Almost every single position.
Too bad we play in maybe the toughest division this year in the NFC North.
It's definitely possible. I mean, we thought that a couple of years ago too, and then the division turned poopy. But
I mean, the only division I see competing right now is the AFC West.
yeah,
Right now,
with the Chargers and the Chiefs,
and the Broncos are ever improving, and the Raiders.
Yeah, I don't expect the Broncos to be any good though. And the Raiders I actually expect to improve from last year, but I don't expect them to be any kind of a threat. I think there's a 2-team race in that division. There's a lot of positives to look at
you
with
legitimately
this.
could have three wildcard teams in the NFC North this year.
You could, absolutely.
It might not be the Lions.
I
mean,
don't
not the
expect
wildcard
it.
teams, 3 playoff teams, but
I don't expect it to be the Lions. I mean, I expect it to be a 6-10, 7-9 team. That's what I've said all along.
It's weird.
7-9 is where I sit.
I'm much more optimistic about our roster this year than I was last year, but
I don't think we're any. I don't think we're.
I don't like our division. I don't like our schedule.
Right.
It's not panning out.
There's spots that are soft on our schedule and they're really soft. But then the rest of the schedule is not easy. Like, it's tough. I mean, you play the Chiefs. You play out west in Arizona against a rookie QB, and it's a guy that you don't know who's a dual threat, which is scary. And that's supposed to be one of your soft games. And then you play your own division twice, which you got 3 other teams in your division that are pretty damn good.
Okay, hear me out on this. I know divisions are made to cut the cost of traveling and all that between teams, but what if you said screw all that and you shuffle the divisions each year? You still have to play your division, each team in your division twice a year, but you're in a different division each year.
I hate this idea. I hate it. It's stupid. Why? Because you then no longer have rivalries. You get rid of rivals at that point. There's a reason why it's. There's a reason why
the Lions got placed in a division with like the Bills and the Cardinals and the Raiders, and you're like, we're going to the playoffs.
That would make it stupid, and it would devalue playoff spots. Let's be real, devalue playoff spots.
Man.
But again, it would ruin rivalries. It absolutely would kill rivalries because
You're right.
there's a certain aspect of, there's a certain level of heightened excitement when you're going up against the Packers or the Bears or the Vikings. There's just that level. There's just one notch up on level of intensity, and if you get rid of that on a year-to-year basis, I mean, you're not going to have it anymore.
Yeah.
It's just going to become a regular old game.
All right, let's move on to the NBA. Caesars last week, they released their NBA season win total over-unders.
Yes.
And for the most part, these are pretty confusing.
When we talked about these on the live show last week, I was really confused by them because I was wondering if they had enough wins for if they had did their math well enough to where there was enough total wins, because obviously with the amount of matches you play, they play 800 different matchups throughout the season, probably more. Let's be real. I didn't feel like there was enough wins there. The Bucks were, what was their over under?
Bucks were the highest at 57.
Yeah, but then you're talking about the Warriors were what, 52?
But remember, we said where all the wins went was the lower teams, because the Hornets, Cavs are at 24, Grizz 25 and a half.
I'd be pretty surprised to see all those teams win 25 games, because I highly doubt it happens.
That's where all your wins went.
Right.
But the Pistons got set at 37 and a half.
Just lower than last year.
Feels like the fourth year in a row we got set at the mid to high 30s.
I thought their over-under last year was 41 and a half.
I don't think it was.
I could be wrong.
But all I know is I'm hammering this over.
I agree. 37 and a half wins, and in all honesty, the Pistons have had one of the better off seasons in their recent history, in a long time. I can't look back at an off season where
not much cap room at all.
Exactly. Bringing in Tony Snell was huge.
Yep.
That was a obvious glaring position need where you quite literally didn't have a single rostered 3 outside of a rookie in Sekou Doumbouya, who's not going to really make an impact this year.
Speaking of
Svi Mikhailuk.
we had a sick and new boy jersey spotting at a Mopop this weekend.
Really?
Someone was rocking a Dumbuya jersey.
I think I'd hold off on that right away. But you quite literally didn't have a legitimate option at the 3 going into this offseason. And even after the draft, you needed to make a splash, and that's where and you got Tony Snell. So now you have a legitimate option to start at the 3 that plays defense and shoots the 3 ball effectively. Perfect number 1.
And you improved
your back.
Injury notwithstanding, you improved your backup point guard position.
You improved your backup point guard position. I mean, Ish Smith was always hurt too.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
True.
You improved your backup point guard position. You improved your bench scoring. You brought in my opinion, a very quiet, underrated signing in Christian Wood. I think he'll be a very solid backup center for the Pistons, and he'll even play some 4 minutes as well. If you want to mix in some Maker,
You brought in Keefe.
you brought in Markieff Morris, who will play some backup minutes as well. I mean, he's been quite underwhelming the last few years, but he's still a potentially
Marcus
productive.
was known as a lesser than Morris Brothers,
And now he's
Pistons,
way better.
And he shined with Detroit.
Yes,
so
he was
hopefully
quite
the
good
same
with
thing happens
Detroit.
to
And,
Markieff.
honestly, he's even better with the Celtics than he was with Detroit. But Marcus Morris is a damn good player.
Yeah.
They brought in productive assets. And that, like we said with the Lions, this is one of the first off seasons that we looked at and said, last offseason. Let's take last offseason for example. The guys they brought in, Glenn Robinson III, he wasn't productive. And when we brought in Langston Galloway, he wasn't productive. Guys, the recent signings that we've brought in were just pure depth plays that didn't really do much.
Yeah.
These guys we brought in this offseason are guys that will be playing impactful minutes right away. Tony Snell is going to probably start and play about 30-plus minutes a game and be an impactful player for this team. Both sides of the ball.
I can't see that's the thing, and I can't help because thinking of all that doesn't make sense, and so I can't help but think that Vegas is taking into account the massive injury risk on a roster, and that's why the over-under is so low.
What it is Vegas is looking at last season as a 41-win team. When,
With
in
Blake
all
Griffin
honesty,
playing 70 games.
In all honesty, Blake Griffin playing the most games he's ever played in a long time. Reggie Jackson playing the most games he's played and healthy in a long time. Andre Drummond being healthy and playing really good basketball, his best basketball in a long time, and the team only won 41 games.
Yeah.
So that does kind of tell you that, okay, maybe we do temper our expectations a little bit because we had excellent health last season. We had players playing at peak performance, especially guys like Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, Reggie Jackson, and we still were only a 41-win team.
Yeah.
And we're talking guys who are often injured, not getting hurt. So maybe we go back to the norm with some of that for a little bit this year. Andre Drummond probably trying to play a little bit of hero ball here and there. Blake Griffin getting hurt. Derrick Rose getting hurt. Reggie Jackson getting hurt. Maybe we see an injury from Andre Drummond here or there.
But did they not see the Andre Drummond pickup game video where he?
Oh, please don't.
Where he did the step back fadeaway 3. I mean,
okay,
he's clearly going to be a scoring machine this year, Nicholas.
No. Did you actually watch that video?
Yeah.
His shooting form looks like a child. I mean, I know the Pistons Twitter is going to trash me for that, but his shooting form straight up looks like a kid shooting.
Listen, it's slightly improved.
It's slightly improved, but it still looks like a kid shooting. Like, his jumping just looks so weird. He, has one foot in front of the other. So he went from a toddler
shooting to a kid shooting.
Yeah, he's got, 1 foot in front of the other, and he, slowly goes and then just explodes it. I don't know. I don't like his shooting form at all. It's ugly. And I tried saying, someone on Twitter, I don't even know who it was, I'm not even going to call him out if I remembered, but someone on Twitter was trying to say his form looks great. I was like, what the hell are you watching? Because I don't know a single legitimate shooting coach in the NBA that's trying to teach that form.
You know what's odd, though? His form actually looks pretty decent on his free throws, but I feel like it doesn't translate to his jump shot.
It doesn't. His form looks decent, solid on free throws. He's square. His feet are square. He's got good fluid motion through his knees up into his upper body and then his release. And then his jump shot comes out and his legs aren't fucking square. Damn it.
Another
His legs, his feet aren't square. His shoulders are like lopsided. Like, what is this?
We apologize to the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Just mark our show explicit every time. Just take it as a given.
Oh man, I just like ate the microphone.
Well, you are hungry today.
I am very hungry. It is National Wing Day too.
It is National Wing Day.
I just.
But are you hammering? Are you on my side here and hammering that
Yes,
over though?
I expect this team to be better than last year. I do, and maybe I'm crazy for thinking that. Maybe I'm being a homer for thinking that because we did have a lot of really unlikely positives last year. But I kind of expect some of that to continue. Blake Griffin's changed the way he plays the game.
Yeah.
He's not as body heavy anymore. It's a lot more finesse and a lot more pick and choose where he takes his opportunities. And it's smarter basketball that lends to less injuries or fewer injuries. Yeah. And Reggie Jackson, in all honesty, it looks like he's totally healthy. Derrick Rose, best season he's played in a long time last year and was primarily fairly healthy. I know he only played 50 games, but if I can get 50 games of 18 points a game, Derrick Rose off the bench, thank you very much. I love it. That'd be great. I have no issues with that. And then you want to add the improvement of Bruce Brown as well as potentially being a guy.
The improvement of Bruce Brown.
Right,
Yeah.
as potentially a guy who can maybe even play some spot point guard minutes if Derrick Rose goes down and you need a backup one. That's a guy you can look at. The continued improvement of Luke Kennard as being a legitimate shooting, scoring threat off the bench. I'd love it.
Here's a question for you to kind of lead us in the end of the show here. Because I saw an article today. I didn't read it. I just saw the headline. And basically it was an article asking, what is the ceiling for Luke Kennard? I didn't read it, but I was
the ceiling for Luke Kennard is about J.J. Redick, honestly. A little more of a... slightly more of a slashing J.J. Redick. A guy who's got the ability to make something happen off the bounce and get to the rim, but will more often than not settle for a good jump shot.
A little bit better than J.J. Redick is his ceiling.
A little bit better, a little bit more versatile than J.J. Redick is his ceiling. Not necessarily better, because J.J. Redick is going to go down in history as one of the greatest shooters in the game. I don't think Luke Kennard is that good of a shooter. He's a good shooter, maybe even a great shooter. But not one of the greatest shooters in the history of the game. So I think in terms of shooting, you'll lose that. You'll lose something there. But what you lose there, I think you do pick up in his ability to make things happen off the bounce. So I do think there's a little more versatility with Luke Kennard. But I do think what you end up having, all in all, is a little bit more versatile of a little bit more versatile J.J. Redick. That's his ceiling. Because he's not the most athletic guy. He's not ever going to be a big-time dunker, a big-time slasher, huge scoring threat. That's just not his game. You're not going to have a big-time playmaker with Luke Kennard. It's not his game. He's not great defensively. It's not his game. His game is the spot-up jump shot with a little bit of ability to make something happen with his own, a little bit of his own shot creation.
Agreed. Not to retread, but I did forget to ask one thing on this over-under topic. If you were setting the over-under for the Pistons, what would you set it at?
42.5. 43.5 maybe.
I think that's fair.
And I would still, I'd still be tempted to take the over, honestly. I actually think this team could be a 45-46 win team this year. I really do. And maybe I'm blinded by my love for the basketball team. Maybe I'm blinded by my, homerism. But I seriously think this team has the talent and the ability to be a 45-plus win basketball team and make some noise. Maybe even win a playoff series. Oh, God help me. Maybe even win a playoff series if the matchup is right.
We're going to have to get out of that 8 seed.
Yeah, oh, God, yes. You're going to have to get out of the 7 and 8 seed. You're going to have to get into the 6 seed or better.
Whatever matchup we're not playing Giannis, that would help.
I'll tell you this right now.
Because we clearly cannot guard Giannis.
Yeah, you're nobody can.
Maybe Tony Snell can. Maybe.
I'll tell you. No, he can't. He doesn't have the size. I'll tell you this right now.
What's Tony Snell, like 6'8"?
Yeah, 6'7", I think, maybe 6'8". If you were to tell me right now that the Pistons would go into next year's playoffs as a 5 seed, I'd tell you the Pistons will win that series. Doesn't even matter who they're playing. Knowing what's potentially at that 4 seed, if you were to tell me that the Pistons were a 5 seed going in, I'm telling you they're winning that series.
Oh, interesting. So you're just assuming the Bucks aren't going to be a 4 seed.
I'm knowing the Bucks are not going to be a 4 seed. Barring injury.
It's a ballsy assumption, Nicholas.
Yeah, I know. Barring injury or Monstars stealing Giannis's talent, I don't think that team's going to be a 4 seed.
Did you hear Giannis saying that his younger brother, he thinks could be better than him?
I did not hear this.
Not the one that's in the league, not the Nasus.
There's 2 in the league. There's 2 in the league.
But it's one that is. I think it's one that's still.
Well, there's 2 in the, there's 2
league.
others in the league right now. I'm pretty sure because one signed with the Bucks and one signed with a different team. I'm pretty sure.
But yeah, so I think he has. I can't tell if it's just his way of trying to boost his brother's draft stock or
Probably.
because I think scouts are kind of salivating over his brother now all of a sudden. So.
I mean, wouldn't you? So I got one question for you before we close out. Seeing what Derrick Rose's numbers were last year, 18.1 a game, 4.5 assists, a couple rebounds here and there, and what Reggie Jackson's were last year, under 10 points, right about 4.5, 5 assists, couple rebounds. Is there a point in the season where we see, and I want you to place your stamp down now, is there a point in the season where we see Derrick Rose start over Reggie Jackson at the point guard position?
Yes. I think yes. I think a healthy Derrick Rose would have a shot to overtake Reggie because of the fact that you could – before Reggie's kind of sort of resurgence in February, there were points where you saw Coach Casey get visibly frustrated with Reggie Jackson before. I would not doubt what happened where at least one game or the game before – Reggie Jackson does something stupid. Coach Casey gets pissed, and he starts Derrick Rose next game. Like I would not doubt, but if we're talking about merit of talent alone, I think Derrick Rose can do it. I just don't know if
you can
they want
trust
to give
him to
him
play
a starting
30
workload.
minutes a game,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
But I can definitely see a situation where just Reggie Jackson just messes up and Derrick Rose gets to start the next game, kind of thing.
Fair enough. I'll agree with you. I do think there's situations where Derrick Rose does start over Reggie Jackson. How would you feel?
This is not talking about starting because Reggie Jackson's injured. That doesn't count.
No, that doesn't count.
Yeah. Like genuinely starting.
Genuinely,
over Reggie Jackson.
Dwayne Casey walks out with the lineup with Reggie Jackson starting on the bench and Derrick Rose, D Rose starting at the 1.
Yeah.
How would you feel about Derrick Rose, Andre Drummond, and Blake Griffin on the floor together? How did you feel about them coming out and starting? God, could you imagine if this was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago,
That's
and you
what I'm
had
saying. Like, I
you
wish
had
it
Derrick
was.
Rose and Blake Griffin on your roster? My God,
That you got damn near a super team. Right
yeah.
now. I mean,
You got an MVP and a guy who's competed for MVPs.
but sadly, you don't have a super team.
No, because neither guy is the same player anymore. I mean, granted, Blake Griffin did have his best season of his career last year, but just not the same player.
And Derrick Rose had the best season since his prime years. Pre-injury years.
Yeah.
I don't know. But real quick,
Are you getting a Derrick Rose Pistons jersey? If he averages, what will it take for you to get a Derrick Rose Pistons jersey?
What would it take for me to get a Derrick Rose
Yes.
Pistons jersey?
If he makes the All-Star team, do you get a Derrick Rose Pistons jersey? I think that's a pretty safe, unlikely bet because he's not going to play enough.
Well, like what I'm thinking, because what I'm thinking in my head is I don't want to get a jersey for someone who's going to play half a season. But like if he made the All-Star game, that was a good enough half season for me to be like, okay, cool, I can rock a Derrick Rose jersey. So,
Okay, all right.
if I get All-Star Derrick Rose back, yeah, I might be hyped up enough to get a Derrick Rose jersey.
I mean, it's
Won't
a
happen,
popularity contest.
But, so real quick, it is National Wing Day.
Yes.
I just wanted to pose one last question before we close out the show.
I feel like there's been a lot of last questions.
What is it? There has been. What is, in your opinion, in your humble opinion, best wing spot in Detroit?
My humble opinion, that's a thing?
In Detroit or the Metro Detroit area?
Best wings in Metro Detroit. Now, you've got some legitimate
Let's make it
contenders
more
here.
fun. Let's do top 3.
Okay, top 3. Well, Applebee's. No, I'm kidding.
Dead.
I'm kidding. No, number 1 in my opinion has got to be Sweetwater.
I'll agree with you there.
Sweetwater's wings, their sauce is just it's so good. I could eat it pretty much any day of the week. See, one that would probably be a really safe number 2 is a place I've never had, and that's Detroit Wing Company. I've never been to Detroit Wing Company, and I know I know a lot of people say that they're some of the best wings in Detroit, that they're probably a really safe number 2. Who would be a nomination for you, though?
For me, my top one is is Sweetwater Tavern. I know one that I'm missing that a lot of my buddies swear by is Flowers of Vietnam. I have not had their wings.
I've never even heard of that.
That's in
place.
Detroit also. But one that I had.
Flowers of Vietnam. Where's it at?
You never heard of it?
No.
No. It's in Detroit. I mean, I've never been there.
Where's it at, though? Like, what district?
Oh, what district? Yeah.
Like Midtown, Corktown,
Straight up-
Bricktown.
Again, haven't been there. Straight
Campus
up couldn't
Martius,
tell you.
what? Oh, okay.
I can find out real quick.
Yeah, we can look it up. Here, keep going. I'll look it up.
But one that I had literally yesterday before Mopop, actually, it was at Coop at the Detroit Shipping Company. It's like a Caribbean
there
place, and they had these Caribbean.
Oh, it's in Mexican Town.
They had these like Caribbean jerk wings. Holy hell!
Oh, is that Caribbean jerk place we were looking at last time we were at Detroit Shipping Company?
Yeah,
Because that place
yeah.
looked bomb.
Those wings, they tasted like they came fresh off a charcoal grill. Like it had that like charry like flavor,
Which
to
isn't
it too.
normally how you do wings
Yeah,
either.
and they were your normal. Like,
That's how you do Caribbean
they were
jerk
the size
wings,
of
but-
wings that like when we make wings in the barbecue.
Well, you
like,
buy 'em from the
decently
store, you
sized
have the
wings.
full- the full wing.
Yeah. But the flavor on these things, my God, between the sauce and the Caribbean jerk seasoning.
So what kind of sauce is it? Just
And-
like jerk sauce?
It is. I'm actually not sure what the sauce is. It's I can look it up. I don't know what this. I forgot what the sauce was that was on there.
What's it taste like?
It has this like citrusy quality to it. It's got like a smoky. I don't know if the smokiness was from the wing itself or the sauce, but it had. Well, I know there was smokiness from the wing, but I don't know if there was from the sauce too. But it had like a smoky, citrusy quality to it, and then with the Caribbean jerk seasoning on top, just this perfect blend. It was jeez.
You're making me hungry. So
But,
if you guys are done drooling,
But yeah, it was like it tastes like charbroiled wings is what it tasted like with some jerk seasoning and like some delicious sauce. So
Sounds
that's
good.
my number 2 right now, like that I've had.
so what
In
you're
the
telling me
area.
is I got to go there.
Yeah.
I legit when we were down there the one
Mm-hmm.
weekend when we did the handlebar thing.
Yeah.
When we were at Detroit Shipping Company, I straight up debated going there.
Mm-hmm.
I told you, do we get wings? I know we just like ate not that long ago, but like, do we get wings? we
Well, we didn't have much time. I mean, it took.
didn't have a lot of time
It
either.
took like 10, 15 minutes for the wings to come out.
Okay.
So we would have been screwed if we tried to do that.
Yeah.
But dude, all the food there is good too. Like
At Detroit Shipping Company, or
yeah. My buddy, both Nick and my buddy went to the Mexican place right by the
Mm-hmm.
Caribbean place. And the food they got, just they loved it. They both said it was like unreal. Like
wow,
all-
I know.
It's rare where you go somewhere, 3 different people all get 3 completely different items, and all 3 are blown away by what they
especially
got.
when it's technically like different restaurants.
yeah, exactly.
I know like all the food at Detroit Shipping Company is supposed to be really good.
Yeah.
But I've never had any of the food. I've only been I've only gotten drinks there. So I've really been a big pusher for trying to go there, but somebody hasn't wanted to. So what's your number 3?
That's what I'm still debating.
Who's it between?
I'm still debating because like every wing place that I can think of, like I don't know.
Like I'll
that
tell you
many
right now,
more wing places that I would consider putting in the top 3.
right? That's what I was trying to think of too. Because like Wingstop's wings are really good, and honestly, I think Wingstop's wings are better than Buffalo Wild Wings. I'll straight up tell you that right now. I think Buffalo Wild Wings is overrated. It's just easy to go to because it's close. But if I had a Wingstop nearby, I would almost always choose
never
Wingstop.
had
The only
Wingstop,
the only positive with Buffalo Wild Wings is there's beer. So if we're trying to go watch a game and eat, wings and beer, perfect. You can't do that at Wingstop.
Yeah.
So, but I will say Wingstop's wings are better than Buffalo Wild Wings. I just can't really say that I'd put it up there with the Sweetwaters and the Coops and stuff like that.
I think I have mine. There was 2 that came to my mind. I think I have mine. The honorable mention, just for straight fried chicken wing, just nothing, just a nice golden fried
naked
chicken wing. Cuzzo's.
Never had cousins either.
But the firecracker wings at Uptown are probably my number
Firecracker
3.
wings are really good too.
probably
You're not
number
wrong.
3.
The Firecracker
And
wings at
don't get me wrong,
Uptown and
it's not so much the wing, it's the sauce.
is that
But
technically West Bloomfield or is that Walled
I
Lake?
think it's Commerce.
Commerce? Okay, yeah, it is Commerce. The Firecracker wings at Uptown in Commerce Township
that's
are
probably my number
fantastic.
3.
They are really good. And if you don't want chicken, you want some seafood, Firecracker shrimp. Also
So
amazing.
your Sweetwater wing is Sweetwater. That's your 1. The Caribbean jerk wings at the Detroit Shipping Company is 2, and my 3 is firecracker wings at Uptown.
Fair enough. I do feel like if as soon as we go to the Detroit Wing Company, though, it's gonna trump at least one of those. I do feel like it is. That's the spot we got to get to.
Yeah,
Definitely.
It's awesome. Next thing I'm gonna get there is sushi. Their sushi rolls are huge.
Cool.
Detroit Shipping Company.
Really?
Yeah.
I was watching a video on like one of the local food things, and they showed a sushi roll that was like the size of like 5 sushi rolls. It was like this big around.
Yeah, exactly. It's
like this
that.
big
It's
around.
Like the size like a top of like a beer can.
Yeah.
Like that's how big it is.
That's a big ass sushi roll. So we apologize for making you all hungry.
Yep.
Because now I'm starving. But that is
Hopefully
podcast
you
of the
listen
week.
to this right after your lunch break or something, or during your lunch break while you're eating.
Yes.
Hopefully that was the situation you were in. And not working at your desk, not having a chance to take a lunch break, and maybe us making you more hungry.
That would be evil.
apologize.
That would be evil. Should we put a warning at the beginning? But anyways, guys, thank you for listening. This was this week's podcast. Let us know if you liked it. Follow us on Twitter at RealFanReport. Also, you can suggest some topics for future shows. Check out our live show, www.twitch.tv/TheFanReport. We go live on Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Why did I forget that we go live on Thursdays?
We're going to start doing, if you guys are into fantasy football, we're going to start doing fantasy mock drafts on the live shows.
Yes.
We'll probably be doing
a lot of fantasy
we're
topics.
We're going to try to do one a show, unless we have too many other topics to get to, then we might have to cancel a mock draft here or there. But we're going to try to do as many mock drafts as possible between now and the start of football season. So
pretty much, yeah.
For your, we're gonna do a lot of fantasy football coverage in general. So for your fantasy football coverage, just follow us on the live show.
Yeah. Andrew, anything else to add after that? No. All right. Well, thank you guys again for listening. Andrew, thank you for joining me, and we'll catch you guys next week. This has been the Fan Reporters by fans.
For fans.
Thank you guys again. Have a good week.
Peace.